Hello and welcome to the third episode of Forging Ahead. I'm Aviv Manoach. This is a show about tabletop role-playing games where I discuss the shenanigans of my home group and prepare their next adventures. You can join me live almost each week on twitch.tv/isol.me, one word, or subscribe to the podcast audio on dwarfcast.net. In this show, if you are new and are not familiar with it, I talk about what happened in my home group where we play a version of Masks and New Generation called Wonders. In Wonders, we removed the Alcyon City part of Masks and created a set of rules about for allowing for the group to make our own city with rules about the events that happened in the city and in the world, the position of superpowered people, how superpowers were discovered, and so on. The basic premise is that superpowered people are a new phenomenon of the last decade. While there have always been people with powers, they were behind the scenes, there was this kind of masquerade, and only 10 years ago, at the end of the War of Might, this became something the public is aware of. Okay, so if you want to catch up with what happened in the campaign up till now, go listen to the two previous episodes. I will now talk about what happened in the last session. Also, there wasn't an episode this week because we didn't have a session this week, so I moved the episode up ahead. We are still Friday at the Titania Club. The Titania is a nightclub operated by Rave and Oberon. Rave is the criminal boss of the city. And part of what she does is organize an underground fighting club for Wonders. Wonder is the word we are using as a catch-all phrase for people with powers. Generally, or more specifically, it means people with actual powers they are born with, but it became a more colloquial word in the world for just people dressing up in costumes and doing stupid things, quote unquote. Obviously, the people doing it don't think it's stupid, but still. So Amraphel, our Janus, is fighting in the ring. He previously fought Echo. He beat the crap out of him, and now he's kind of afraid of losing control because Amraphel is a shapeshifter. He transformed from his human normal form to kind of beast form, a bit like Beast from the X-Men, only he can control it and move back and forth. He actually looks blue, a bit like the aliens from Avatar, the James Cameron movie about big blue alien that have sex with animals. Anyway, he after fighting Echo, he is fighting Harpy. She notices his insecurities. She teases him, shifting his label. He becomes more boring, more mundane, less dangerous. And then he regain his composure. The fight starts. He discovers that while Harpy looks like a pretty tough woman, she's actually a very dangerous person with the ability to animate all of her tattoos into actual physical forms. So the fight begins. They trade a couple blows. The tattoos starts coming to life to block his blows and attack him back. And is in a very tough position, and she animates all of the tattoos, and it's kind of a bunch of mythological creatures and animals and stuff, very scary things. The other thing that happened, all of this is kind of happening at the same time. It was a bit difficult to run this session because, contrary to popular belief, we actually split the party and trying to work out each character part of the story without the others. And while it's tough to do so in a frontal game, in face-to-face game, it's very, very tough to do so in a chat text-based game, because you only have a single space in your chat for the conversation. If I'm sitting across three people, I can somewhat have a conversation with all three of them, but in the chat window I can't have a conversation with the other two without the dialogue with the first being pushed out of the chat. So what we do obviously is only focus on a single interaction at a time, which means that other players are left a bit neglected, and I don't like it. I much prefer all the party to be working together in the same scene, but turns out we can't do it at the moment. So the other guy, the other character that is played in this scene is Oron, is our Nova, is a telepath and telekinetic. And he, at the moment, actually sits outside the club, but he hijacked the consciousness of a clubber that went in the club, and he sees through his eyes and hears through his ears. And what he found out in this session is that the guy that drank a couple of drinks of alcohol and was a bit tipsy suddenly sobers up. Now not sobers up in the acting sober kind of way, but actually the alcohol stops working on his body, and Ron, through the consciousness, feels that. And these guys go up from the basement to the main floor and meets with this woman, which asks him to take care of her ex-boyfriend, which is harassing her, and she hands him an envelope with money. And the guy tells her, don't worry, Franken will take care of it. Now, no one in the party, and specifically Oron, doesn't know who Franken is. They didn't even know if this guy had any powers. For all they know, he was just a regular 19-year-old club goer. So this is new information for them. They didn't. Of course, they are not aware of it yet, but Franken is an operative of darkness. They are, if you go back and listen to the last episode, darkness is the head of a faction of wonders that sells their services at a price. So Franken is getting paid by this woman to take care of a problem for her, and we will get back to it in a later session. Outside the club, Flying Fist and Seabreeze are on the roof. They were scouting the area where Amorphel entered the club, and now they want to go into the club themselves. Obviously, all the characters are teenagers. They are under 18 years old, so they can't actually go into the club. They need to sneak into the club. So Flying Fist and Seabreeze are getting ready to go through a window and get into the club, but then they see a lighting signal from the roof of the building next door. So Flying Fist, which is the beacon, starting to check out the area, survey the area. She plays a move, and she finds out there are tracks on the roof, fresh tracks on the dust, and she's looking around, and suddenly she finds a guy in camouflage. He makes his appearance look like the stuff he's hiding behind him, like a chameleon. So she noticed this guy. This guy noticed her. He runs for it. She tries to catch him. She fails. He escapes. After then, they go into the through the window into the building, and go down to the main floor and try to get into the club from the back entrance, which they scouted a couple of days earlier, but they finds the security guard passed out, and the chameleon kid again that stops them from entering, and they also hears the voice of another person there, although they don't see them, and that's where we stop that scene, and actually the whole session. So we have Amraphel still in the arena versus Harpy. Oron is riding in the mind of Franken, apparently someone that takes money from women in order to take care of problems, and Flying Fist and Seabreeze against what appears to be two other wonders that are sneaking into the club, and all of this is going to proceed into the next session. So to the listeners, I can tell that the two people, Flying Fist and Seabreeze, met are a part of the gang, the faction of Power Star, which are the group in the City of Wonders that are organized to help people. Power Star believes that the old Spider-Man quote, "With great powers must also come great responsibility." So he organized a bunch of wonders, not only in this city, in a couple of other places in the country. Power Star himself was of a very high profile in the media, and so he used that influence and organized those people to help him. But now he is afraid he is being chased by some form of government agency, and he is trying to find out why. And so he himself went into the fight club as disguised as another hero called Red Owl, and he left the scouts outside to check out what is happening, and those scouts ran into the team, and we will find out what will happen with them later. Now, before moving on to the other, before moving on to the main points I want to discuss in this episode, I will go over this diagram I made. If you are watching the video version or watching live, you can see that I have this website called Padlet, which allows you to build some sort of relationship diagram. And so I mapped out all the plot points that is currently happening in the story, including we have the Titania Club as the location. We have all the main people that is involved in the story, and we have the plot points, some of which the team haven't discovered yet. They don't know about, but it's something that will be important later on. If you are not watching the video version, I will have a screenshot of this in the show notes so you can check this out. Okay. Anyways, let's go on the main plot elements that are going to be introduced in the next couple of sessions. First, I talked about this briefly in the last episode. Flying Fist's brother is called Arel. He was a very powerful aeromancer with wind control powers. He was taken by Seraph, which is the international law enforcement, international superpowers law enforcement, and a key figure in the campaign. So I'm going to use him, but it's too early to actually introduce Seraph into the campaign, since they are an international organization. They are guarding the breach, or rather the fissures we're calling it, and so I need to introduce him in another way. I was thinking of having him be a covert agent for Seraph, infiltrating the criminal elements in the city. You may ask, why would Seraph needs an agent in this backwater small town? And the reason is that this small town is the closest town to the Boer prison facility and the fissure itself. So this is also the answer for the question, why the heck everything is going to happen in this city? And the answer is because things are going to go through this city, which is the closest city to this very important thing in the world, the fissure itself, the Boer prison facility. Law enforcement is going to go through, to and from the Boer to the city and beyond. People that try to escape or try to do anything with the facility are going to go through the city. So this is the excuse we use for that. Arel is going, so Seraph took Arel, they're training him, and they sent him to be their secret covert agent inside the city's criminal organization, aka Rave at the Titania. Rave. He adopted a moniker called Typhoon, since he's an aeromancer, it's related to air, and he is going to work for Rave as a powerful enforcer. She is going to test him, to test his loyalty and see that he's actually there to help her, since she doesn't actually trust most wonders, except for those that are working closely with her. And as you may remember from the last episode, we have this all search for the tablet of a nut storyline that people are trying to find out the fragments for the tablet. One of those people that have a fragment is Danica Mikhailov, which is the mother of Alex Mikhailov, which is a close friend of Amraphel, and another key figure in our game. And the mother, Danica, has been threatened by thugs from Rave, and she stood up to them and is not willing to give them the fragment, obviously. So Rave is going to send Typhoon to try and scare Danica and threaten her and try to make her do the right thing, quote unquote. So the next phase of this story, Amorphel is going to get a phone call from Alex. Alex is going to tell him, come quickly, something attacked our house, our car has been thrown, our windows has been broken by wind and stuff. But in the first instance, they are not going to face Typhoon. They are only going to hear about what he did. And this will lead, hopefully, to a further investigation in the future. The next thing is video kids. I talked about how I need to find a way to mix Seabreeze virtual world into the game. And I'm going to start small. I don't want to have a major villain try to breach both worlds at the beginning. That is something that will happen later. But for the beginning, I'm going to have a group of younger kids, about 12 or 13 years old, and one of them will have the power to manifest in real life things he thinks about, something like psychic constructs. And he and his friend, they and their friends are playing some hit video games, something like Fortnite, only not Fortnite. We are going to have this game being based on Seabreeze virtual world, when there is a war between men and monsters and stuff. And they are playing this game, and they are imagining weapons and gear and vehicles from the game, and suddenly all these things from the game is starting to appear in real life. So this kid, they take all these awesome things they are thinking about and creating, and they give them to their friends, and suddenly we have a gang of the video kids, which are armed and armored with gear and equipment from the virtual world, and these kids are going to start robbing things in the city, and that's how the team is going to hear about them. They will hear about a string of robberies, about stuff that kids will want, about, I don't know, new phones and new gaming consoles and all sorts of things like that. So this will be the introduction to the video kids. Later on, this plotline is going to escalate. Again, these are young kids. They are not in control of their powers. The only reason the original video kid was able to manifest his powers is because of the night Seabreeze entered the world. There was some form of a breach, an opening between the virtual world and the real world that allowed Seabreeze to get here, and also brought forth the video kid powers. So if things were proceeding in a normal fashion, he wouldn't have had his powers manifest until he was 14 or 16 or something like that, and also it would have been a lot less powerful at that age. The manifestation of his powers at the moment is a bit stronger than they are supposed to be. So it will cause an escalation. He wouldn't be able to handle his power properly. He would bring more and more dangerous things from the virtual world into our world. It starts with guns and equipment. It will go on to be vehicles and then full monsters, and maybe the city will start to be overrun with things from the virtual world. And after we will solve this issue, however long it takes, then in the second phase there will be a villain that wants to take advantage of all the things from the virtual world and use them to their own advantage. So if we try to sum up the plot line, we have the first phase, which is the accidental phase. Things are happening without malice, without actual evil motivation. But at the second phase, there will be a villain that will direct the course of events. And the last thing we are going to talk about is the investigative division. If you may recall, Oron at the very first session he thought he was involved in a car accident that killed his commanding officer and squad mate. Oron is part of a military organization, the military, but a specific division inside the military, because he is considered to be the most powerful telepath in the country. At a young age, the military took him and got him into this program where he basically grew up inside the military. So he has a commander and he has a squad he worked with and so on. But at the beginning of the first session, he thought they all died, but then he found out it was only in his head. There was no car accident. He only thought he saw a car accident. So I know, and the viewer and the listener know that there is a wonder called darkness that can manipulate memories, and they implanted those memories in Oron. The military themselves know there was no accident, and they think that all these soldiers went AWOL. They just left the military and stole a lot of equipment with them. So the military police, the investigative division, is sending an investigator to find out what happened, and more importantly, actually, to find out how and who managed to fool Oron. Since he's supposed to be the most powerful telepath in the country, how come someone managed to fool him? This is important. This can be dangerous. So the next thing is going to be, after we finish with Titania, is that Oron is going to meet this investigator, and she will ask him questions and try to find out what happened. What I want to happen is that this investigator will become the friendly law enforcement officer that will help the team. I was thinking about having a police officer do this role, but I don't know. We don't have here in Israel the same tradition of knowing police officers like is seen in American TV drama or comics, for that matter. People here don't think about police officer as the same thing. I don't think it's not something that I can think about. There is a policeman, there is a police person, and he will be friends with the team. Just, I don't know. it makes less sense in the cultural sense here, but having someone from the military be friends with the team, it's a bit more manageable. So we will do that. And it also ties in with the old Darkness plotline, that Darkness was paid to manipulate Oran's memories, and he has this old gang of wonders that are being paid to do jobs in the city. We talked about Franken. Franken, by the way, as my party actually figured it out before I told them, Franken is a short for Frankenstein. And one of the players straight up said, first name Franken, last name Stein. So that's nice. They figured out my clue even before I told him anything about the character. So yeah, the guy is called Frankenstein. He has the power of full body manipulation. He can make himself sober up from alcohol. He can make himself change anything about his body chemistry. He can remove parts of his body and use them and then reattach them. Full body control and obviously regeneration and stuff. So this is going to tie in to the investigative division plot. Obviously, this investigator will in the future find out about the Darkness's organization, and hopefully they will help the team and go on with them. Okay, so the next session, what I want to happen is we finish with the Titania Club thing. We are not. The Fight Club will be over. All the sins will be resolved, and we will be able to move on, because it is difficult to run a game split up into 3 different scenes. Then what the things. Then what we are going to do is, first of all, Amorphel is going to get the call from Alex about Typhoon attacking their house. Oron is going to meet with the investigator, and the team is going to hear about the string of robberies from their friend's school. Those are the Video Kids robberies, but we'll find out that later. These are the things I want to accomplish in the next session. Hopefully, we will have enough time to do all of them. Yay! This has been a good episode. I went into a lot of details, and I like that. I want it to be this detailed every time we do one of these episodes. And I appreciate if you are listening or watching those episodes and have questions or idea or anything. Write to me either in my Twitter or in the comments on the Shoulders of Dwarves or in our Facebook group. Write to me, talk to me. I really like to hear your opinion and ideas about all of this. And specifically, if you are familiar with masks and have a specific idea, a specific mechanical idea, or something involving the actual system that you think will go well with what we are talking about, I would like to hear it. So that's our show for today. On the next episode, we'll catch up on what happened with the group in the session and discuss how to proceed. Like I said, you can catch me on Twitter at Icel, ICEL. Check out my work on games at Vanor Games to Amaze page on Facebook. All links in the show note. And you can of course join the On the Shoulder of Dwarves community on Facebook. And that is all. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. And goodbye.